Hello and welcome to episode 214 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
The Wolves 77 Club on Facebook and Instagram, at 77 Club Podcast on Twitter. And thank you. We did eventually reach 105 stars on Spotify, so thank you if you did that.
Next up, 500. So we'll not stop asking ever. Jack Williams is here.
Hi, everybody.
And back from skiing, it is Daniel Bayliss. How was skiing,
Hello.
Dan?
Very nice. It was
Excellent.
very cold, very snowy, superb.
That's just what you need, to be fair. If there's no such snow, it'd be a bit crap, wouldn't it? Harry, we're sat here talking about not only a win over Liverpool, but a 3-0 win over Liverpool. I am at my parents' house at the moment because I have no internet in my new place. And today is the first time I've spoken to my dad since, because he had gone missing. He was a Liverpool fan. And he's still in the mood. 3-0. I don't think anybody saw it coming. I said to you and Bayliss sort of just before the game kicked off, I was like, do you reckon we've got a chance here? And I think the mood was actually pretty bullish, wasn't it? Like, I think there was that feeling that maybe something could be done. A very good time to play Liverpool.
Yeah, I was quietly confident, but I would never have predicted a 3-0 win like that. And another thing I would have never have predicted was a starting 11. I think everybody would have put Collins in with Dawson and dropped Kilman, which he didn't. I'm surprised Ait-Nouri started, but he did really well. I was surprised Hwang started, did really well before he went off injured. But the biggest surprise for me, and I think arguably probably won us the game because it probably threw Liverpool off a bit, was the fact we played 4-4-2. Neves was out on the left. I thought it was going to be a 4-3-3, but it was a 4-4-2. Sarabia and Cunha up front with Sarabia floating around. As I say, Neves on the left, Hwang on the right. Lamina in the middle, who was absolutely unreal, which I'm sure we'll talk more about. But I think we just surprised Liverpool. We went at them for them from the word go. Got a bit of luck with the first goal, but we deserved those 2 goals the first 15 minutes or so. And it was amazing for Molineux to feel like the Molineux like it used to be under Nuno. The atmosphere was incredible, and what a start and what a performance.
Just some breaking news coming through. The driver of the Liverpool team bus has been fined for speeding. He's told a court it was the only way they were leaving Wolverhampton with 3 points. Unbelievable.
Get out.
No, having that. Bayliss, you mentioned him. Harry mentioned him there. Lamina. And you mentioned the atmosphere. I think you said probably the last time it was rocking like that was the Manchester United FA Cup win. But first on Lamina, I think you did at one stage compare him to Kante. I didn't know if he was jumping the gun a little bit, but I got what you meant.
He was everywhere. What was someone put it on Twitter, didn't they? 2/3 of the world is covered by water, the other third's covered by Lamina. Bloke was exceptional. I haven't been able to highly praise a player like that for a long time.
Well, you haven't wanted to, probably is probably more accurate.
He was brilliant. I mean, I said to a mate at work Monday, it's the first time I've gone to a Wolves game and just enjoyed every minute of it for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Just everything about it was perfect. Mm-hmm. We were sort of saying in the pub beforehand, like, they're here for the taking today. And God, did we take our opportunity? Like, I haven't seen us piss many teams off the park like that, let alone Liverpool.
I think that's fair.
5 or 6 would not have been an injustice. If we had a striker, it would have been.
I agree. Yeah. Jack, I think the one person that made a real difference, and obviously having not seen him that much at all in a Wolf shirt making his debut, Craig Dawson. And actually, when I sat back and thought about it, he's the first player we've had since we were promoted, I think, that's had Premier League experience and been a centre-back.
Oh, that's a
now I can't think about. I can't think of anybody else who falls into that centre-back category because it was always Sace, Bolly, Cody.
The ones who came up, and then we brought in like Totti, and who's obviously unproven in the Premier League. So you're probably right. Bennett arguably, that was in the Championship. Yeah, so potentially. But to be honest, I was quite surprised that he went straight into the starting lineup. I thought he was going to potentially be the cover for Collins and Kilman, who've been that pairing for a long time. And obviously you need to be able to rotate. And we saw when Collins got suspended. But I'm with Harry. I was a bit surprised to see Collins dropped, really, because he's been really, really good lately, outstanding. But to come in like that and put in a performance like on his debut, really. He didn't look out of place at all. There was that one moment in the second half where there was a loose pass, which sort of put them onto us, which we were lucky and got away with. But apart from that, didn't really put a foot wrong, did he? Didn't look out of place at all. Came in and just really helped everyone around him as well, which was good to see. And yeah, the starting lineup, there was a few eyebrows raised. I was of the same opinion that, I think we can get something today. I didn't think it would win 3-0, but I thought that we could get a result probably. And the past performances against Liverpool really sort of showed that, I think, particularly when we're going full and strong. And Lopetegui, even though a few eyebrows raised when the team came out, he got it absolutely spot on, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Absolutely spot on. For the first 45 minutes, I thought we were absolutely brilliant. And I think Hwang going off actually imbalanced us a little bit, which is credit to Hwang, because he's had stick off us, he's had stick off everybody really, but it seems like Lopetegui's seen something in him, and I hope his injury obviously isn't too bad, because it looks like he'd probably done his hamstring, hadn't it? But really, really good, and we looked so balanced, we just looked alert, we looked like we wanted it more, and Liverpool just didn't really know what to do with us. And I know everything after the comments are saying, the first 15 minutes Liverpool switched off, they were all over the place. We made that happen. It wasn't just because Liverpool were a bit asleep. Like, we forced them to make those mistakes, and we forced them to lose their man and to be lazy because of how much pressure we were putting on them. And honestly, he got it tactically absolutely spot on. And then I think Hwang going off and the start of the second half was a turning point where they got back into it. But going out the blocks like that and getting a 2-goal head start at home, you can't ask for anything more.
I mean, one thing I would say is they had no midfield, did they? That was the one. People have been criticising Liverpool for being poor when Wolves are actually very good. But Liverpool midfield was non-existent.
Didn't matter with Lamine there, mate. He'd have dominated any midfield that day.
It just gave us the space, didn't it, to pass the ball? Like, Neves is...
Oh, he's a genius.
He's too good for us, isn't he? Unfortunately.
He's definitely, it's the project now, and I think the project's back on it. It does feel that way. But just back on Dawson Bayliss, I mean, that finish... Yeah. Unbelievable.
Took it really well, didn't it? I mean, it was a snapshot on the half volley. It was either breaking the net or it was going to land somewhere near the second tier of the North Bank.
Yeah. I mean, they're all good finishes, aren't they? You mentioned it there, Jack. Neves' finish. I mean, Traore made it as difficult as he could for him by absolutely smashing it at him, but thankfully he's got the first touch of a god.
Can you imagine Neves actually making that run under Large, though? That's the thing. That's one of the biggest differences, because they just went, and really, as I said, we were under pressure, I think, for the first 20 minutes of that second half, under quite severe pressure. If they'd have scored a goal in that period, it could have ended up being a completely different game. But again, Lopetegui is a bloody genius, because he saw it happening. He made 2 changes. He brought on Moutinho and Jimenez, and it improved pretty much instantly. Moutinho won the ball back, which led to us getting the goal. He played out to Traore, didn't he? Yeah. So
you see it quite a bit. Traore making the long run, right? How many times does anyone bust their gut to get in the box?
Yeah,
not many.
No.
And the only reason Neves could do that is because Lamina was sitting the whole game, and it gave Neves so much freedom to be much more involved further up. And if it carries on like that, Neves could be adding a lot more goals to his game, definitely.
100%.
Great finish, wasn't it?
I think a lot of people have highlighted Traore, Harry, and then the performance, and a lot, say 99% of people are saying the same thing. Whereas if he plays like that consistently, then a lot of the words were paying what he wants, and he is going to be leaving on a free if nothing is sorted out within the next 6 months. Do you think there's hope that he'll stay?
It's frustrating with Traore for me, because he can have a game like that where he's amazing, really impactful, but then the next game he'll be woeful and he'll look like he can't play football. So his consistency's always been in question. And I would love him to stay, personally, especially to bring off the bench. I mean, we've said it so many times, but he don't do it enough though, does he? There's no doubt he was brilliant. It was a perfect game for him, because the beginning of that second half, we were sat back, and it gave us the opportunity to break on them. And when we break with space and you give it to Traore, you just know what he's capable of. And I think you're a bit harsh about his pass as well. I thought it was a good ball into Neves. I think he's
hit it quite hard, didn't he? I thought
he had to, though, didn't he?
Yeah, no, in fairness.
And then he nearly set up Raul at the end, didn't he? And Raul tried a weird dink finish. So, yeah, brilliant.
Oh, what was his shooting?
He tried to just chip him, didn't he, with the outside?
He tried to chip him, but
he was shooting from anywhere, wasn't he? He was like, he got the ball on the halfway line, had a shot, and I was like, what are you doing?
He's just trying too hard still, isn't he? But I couldn't help, but I know I wouldn't have laughed if it was 1-1 or we were 2-1 down when he did that. But with 3-0 up, I just burst into hysterics when because he should have scored, shouldn't he? Let's be honest.
The old
was like
Raul
that.
would have slotted that in easy.
It
Round
was
the
like
keeper.
even thought about it.
It was like that time when you remember was it against Leeds when he went to take a quick throw in and he just threw it out.
Yeah.
He just threw it in the dugout. Do you remember that?
Yeah, he didn't go on the pitch. Yeah,
No, he didn't
go on the pitch.
You know what needs to happen, don't you? He needs to start watching Dawson's finishing.
That's it. Yeah.
He needs to watch the tape back of that goal and go, just do that, Raul.
How did you describe on your vlog, Harry? How did you
the
describe
Brexit finish?
Can
Absolutely.
you explain what that means?
It just means like, no nonsense, bold in your 50s, like, smack the wife about a bit. You know what I mean?
Fucking hell.
You can't say that. Oh, dear.
Man, you know what I mean?
Oh,
You
we've been
know
cancelled.
Oh, I thought actually, just moving on from that, that Megan Rapinoe, when she came, Pedence with his purple hair came on, had a little bit of an impact as well. My God, what's he doing there? He looked like a Smurf.
No, that's probably why he didn't start him. That's probably why
salad,
Lopetegui just looked at him and went, nah, not today, mate.
Not today.
Talking of all the brilliant football, and it was a fantastic game to watch. My favourite part was still the last minute.
Oh, the passing around, yeah.
2 minutes of uninterrupted Olays.
Yeah.
Hey. And then like it'd be what would normally be a wayward pass, and then there'd be a Wolves player on the end of it, and just like it's our day.
But it was brilliant just watching the lower Steve ball. Every time there was no lay, another 10 or 15 left.
Yeah, and
it was just a
seats,
continual stream of empty seats. Well, empty seats, empty space is where seats used to be.
Yeah. I think from start to finish, because Harry was talking about the very start of it, and there was some Elvis playing through the stadium. I'm trying to think what song it is now.
Wonder of You.
The Wonder of You. I mean, it's basically a crowd-pleasing wedding song, isn't it? And may as well have played Sweet Caroline, but it did seem to like G everybody up a little bit.
We did do it a few years ago for a period. We played it.
Yeah,
I think. No, they are trying. Like, I think the club are trying to change the music and that, aren't they, to make the atmosphere better? But the fact we went 2-0 up so early, they could have played anything, and I think the atmosphere would have been incredible. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I like what they're doing. I like what they're trying. But if we keep doing performances like that, it won't matter what they play. Molineux will be rocking. Like you said, we need something to cheer for. And if we do get it, Molineux's brilliant. There's no doubt about it. But when we play, is it Bournemouth who come to Molineux next?
Yeah.
Hopefully we can be like that again. If it's 0-0 after 20 minutes, we need to keep the atmosphere going. I just want to mention something because we haven't brought him up once yet. We give Jose Sarr so much stick on this podcast, rightly so, after the Man City game. And we didn't pass it around the back as much, did we, admittedly, but he pulled off 2 great saves on the day against Neves. The one first half was like he tried to bend it round, didn't he? And then that one second half when Kilman got like lobbed, didn't he? Yeah. But yeah, so brilliant from Jose Sarr. That's what we want to see from him. And it was a crucial save, that one as well, the second one, because it was 2-0 at the time, was hanging on a little bit. And then obviously we did go on and get the goal. But yeah, shout out to Jose Sarr as well. So many good performances on the day, wasn't there? There's a good 3 or 4 potential man of the match candidates.
Jack, bring in there.
Yeah, there were. I think... I know it's very good to look at the result and get excited and sort of think that, we probably could have had, with Nunez's one-on-one in the first half, and particularly with Jimenez's one that we already mentioned, we could have scored 5 goals feasibly. I think we were quite lucky to not concede at all, and that's testament really to Jose Sarr with his saves. We called out the one earlier, the wayward pass, which led to the Salah putting it wide of the post, and also there was another ball over the top, wasn't there? It was a ball over the top, which caught Kilman out, and so it wasn't a 10 out of 10 performance, but it's when you're playing opposition who have been one of the best 2 teams in the league for the past 3 or 4 years now. Really, and we never get anything against them in the league, do we? That's our first win.
Never beat them since we come back up. Now we haven't beat them in the Prem
since Stephen Ward, I don't think. Stephen Ward 1-0 in 2010, was it, or something like that? So yeah, it's a great performance. It wasn't faultless, but it's okay. And it's just the fact, the attitude and the way we went about it. So yeah, there's a few performances all over the pitch and players that we've had question marks about, like we've mentioned, of Sarr, Hwang, who just turned up on the day, really. So
just on Kilman, Jack, you mentioned him being lobbed there. On Twitter, was it Neil Mellor clutching at straws a bit? That handball, remember at 2-0? I know Liverpool fans were crying about that one, but I think it hit his belly first and went onto his arm. Yeah,
it's that was just clutching at straws. But the problem is, I said at the time as well. I think it's a bit of entitlement because Robertson was straight over to the ref at that. They were all crowding around the ref like it's handball, it's handball, it's handball. nobody who actually watches football apart from Neil Mellor actually thinks that's handball. I don't think it's by his side. There's nothing you can do about it. But when you get it,
it didn't meet any of the handball criteria. It was a pretty good shout.
That's what I mean. But when they've got this sort of when they're used to getting these sort of calls every week because they're a top team, it's just entitlement and they think they should get it. It's like, come on, we're 2-0 down. We need something to get back into us. Let's all crowd around the ref for something that's not a handball and then whine about it later on Twitter. But it's big six bias, isn't it?
I agree. Harry, they dropped the goal music as well.
Yeah, I love that.
I think you did get to hear the crowd cheering the goal in its entirety, which, to be fair, probably pre-Lopetegui wouldn't have happened very much anyway, because you've got to score a goal to have goal music. But hi-ho silver lining at half-time as well. So, lots of good feedback for what the club have been doing behind the scenes.
Yeah, I like the no goal after the no songs after goals. Definitely, I like the fact they've done that, and yeah, hopefully they can keep trying things and hopefully they get it right. But the atmosphere was, as I said, would have been brilliant. Anyway, I've just pulled up Paul's comment. This is probably why Aït-Nouri started this game over Bueno, which obviously he had Salah in his pocket again. And you think back to that game, was it when Hoover come on and they scored last minute? Like Aït-Nouri absolutely marked him out the game.
Yeah.
Hoover comes on, we lose right at the end. And then maybe he thought, obviously now Aït-Nouri does before, let's put him there again. And he did keep Salah quite quiet again, didn't he? So a good comment from Paul. But yeah, Liverpool, we'll probably get on to what Klopp was like in the press conference and that, but they are literally, I don't even want to say the word because we'll get accused of taking the piss out of Hillsborough, but they are victims, aren't they? Let's be honest.
The really weird thing about that is that apparently there were songs about Hillsborough sung. I didn't hear any. Nobody else seems to have heard any. There are certain Wolves reporters out there that said they heard it. Backtracked, I think, backtracked a little bit, saying that it's the victim song that goes back to being Hillsborough. I don't know.
On that point, surely if you're a reporter doing that game, you're sat in the press box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is in the
Billy Wright stand.
So to have heard that song, it would have had to have been sung by pretty much all the stadium because it wouldn't have been coming from the Billy Wright stand.
He said it was a South Bank. He said it was a small one. I want to talk about this actually because he really annoyed me. Steve Madley, the Athletic. Steve Madley. I don't know what it is about him. Like at first, I felt a bit sorry for him because he was getting a bit of abuse on Twitter. And let's be honest, it's an impossible job. You get so much abuse being like a Wolves correspondent. But he is not doing himself any favours. First of all, when the Scott Sellers stuff was happening, he stuck up for Scott Sellers and was like really sticking up for him, and all the Wolves fan base were a bit annoyed with him. That's one of the first things that annoyed me about him. And then this victim song that was sung, which I don't actually know what it sounds like. I didn't hear it on the day I was in the ground. He said a small minority sang it. It's got links to Hillsborough apparently, but the song was created after Suarez refused to apologise to Evra back in 2011. That's when the Man United fans started to sing it. But he just really kept banging home about this being the connection to Hillsborough. I don't think anybody who sang that song in the stadium on the day purposely were trying to bring up Hillsborough. I've never heard that any time we've played Liverpool in my whole time going. So I think, look, I don't know Steve Madley as a bloke, never met him. Obviously, none of us have. Never read any of his articles because personally I wouldn't pay to read articles online. But he does himself no favours on Twitter. And for someone who's the Wolves correspondent, surely he should want people to read his stuff and not people want to boycott his stuff. So I think the way he goes about it is just ridiculous. So horrendous from him. He's just alienating a lot of Wolves fans, and it just annoyed me.
I get, Harry, that you shouldn't always want to bow to the general consensus. You should have your view, fair enough. But this is a pretty serious, it's not just a touchy subject. It's a really touchy subject. It's one that I don't think any Wolves fans would stoop to it. I just don't think it'd happen.
I think if they did want to sing about it, they'd be more direct about it.
Exactly.
I think they're looking for some sort of offence underlying there, which isn't actually there. And
they sang the Sign On song. They always sing that, don't they? Sign on with a pen. But that's like, I think every fan in the country sings that's to Liverpool. It's just one of those things. But no, it's a very touchy subject, and he just wouldn't stop going on about it. I know he wrote articles on how good we were, fair enough, but he just wouldn't let it go. He was responding to people on Twitter, blocking anybody who would say wrong against him. I just think he's gone about it in completely the wrong way. And I never thought I'd say this because I weren't particularly his biggest fan, but bring back Tim Spears.
Well, at least Tim Spears was a Wolves fan, though. That's the thing.
Exactly.
The thing with this bloke is he's an ex-Albion correspondent. He's moved to Wolves for the sole reason that it's a Premier League team. That's it. If he was actually a Walsall fan or an Albion fan and he actually wanted to do it for the love of his team, he would have stayed and reported on those clubs. But he's probably got a little bit of a pay rise to go and report on Wolves, get to see more glamorous games, go to better stadiums. So he's jumped at it. But it's very weird for someone who's only really been in the job at the start of this season. Was it? Or was it started last season?
Yeah.
I can't remember. But
he keeps on holiday.
And he keeps going on holiday, to have such a fragmented relationship with the fans after such a short period of time. It's very strange, isn't it? And I know some of the abuse on there then gets a bit personal, but it's just I agree. It's kind of the wrong way to go about it if you just want to be arguing with basically the people who are your potential customers. If you're going to be charging them £1 an article or £1 a month or whatever you think it's worth. So yeah, it's not very smart.
What we'll say is obviously he's not here to defend himself. He says he heard what he heard, and he has stuck up for himself on Twitter, and I suppose that's the end of it, really.
He's the only Wolves. He's the only Wolves reporter to say it, though, isn't he? I didn't see Leon Keane or Jude or anyone say anything about it.
I don't think anyone will say, okay, you heard people singing the victim song, whatever. I'm sure that probably might well have happened, but I think it's the connection you're making as to why it was being sung.
Yeah,
and
pushing it.
Weird bit.
We've just had an amazing result, but that's the thing he wants to highlight on Twitter. Like, it's like, come on, mate. So he's just dampening the mood, isn't he?
Using a tenuous link to create a hook for yourself isn't a particularly nice way to go about things, is it?
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Harry, it was almost like someone had taken a tweet from a Liverpool fan about this and then run a story on it. And then I think, was it the Liverpool reporter for somebody?
There was a BBC journalist who obviously covers Liverpool, who was the first person to bring this up. He said he heard the victim song. Yeah, and then he got a lot of abuse off Wolves fans because they were like, "No way, that's not what they, that was not their intention." Blah blah blah. We didn't hear it, which like we didn't. A lot of Wolves fans didn't hear it. He like protected his tweets, like went private, and then I think Madeley was backing him up. That's how it all started. But yeah, and then just talking of the Athletic, I don't know if you want to move on a little bit, but Klopp, how funny was that after the game? There was I think it's James Pearce for the Athletic who covers Liverpool. He just rattled Klopp, didn't he? Like Klopp, he was like, "I refuse to answer your questions," which is classic Klopp. When he loses, he's a soul.
It was about something that James Pearce had written. I mean, James Pearce, I think, used to write for the Liverpool Echo. He's a Liverpool fan. He now works at the Athletic as the Liverpool correspondent. So, I mean, similar situation, really. I suppose you've got fans reporting on clubs, but almost you have to go a little bit the other way sometimes. Otherwise, you get accused of bias in a positive way, but refused to answer a question, and then got another journalist within the room to answer the same question, and then he answered it. It's just petty, isn't it?
Anyone else want to take that?
I don't really know the backstory of it really, but everything's a bit sour grapes, isn't it, with Klopp, particularly when he's just lost 3-0. He'd be in a better mood if he'd won and got everything to go his way. Probably should say something about the ref, actually, because the ref actually was putting up with none of their nonsense, which you've got to like. After the talking point the last few times against Liverpool has been the referee. Didn't really notice him. I don't know who it was. But
that's good, though, Jack. What did we say the other week? If you don't notice the referee, he's done a brilliant job. We want more of that.
So, yeah, Klopp's always a little bit like this. And that's a good point from Paul again in the comments. Has anyone written an article yet about how Liverpool fans smashed up all the seats before they left? Or is it more about us potentially singing a song which links to something that they think?
Yeah, I haven't seen any reporting of it other than sort of from fans who were at the game.
Just on Klopp as well, it was hilarious him saying the third goal shouldn't have counted because we didn't enter their half before he scored it. Did you see the tweet Wolves put out?
Jeez, brilliant.
For those of you who haven't seen it, it was just a picture of 2-0 with Neves' goal sort of chalked off it, and then Neves sort of like holding his head with
Whoever
the
did that
emoji.
Fair play.
So,
he doesn't help himself, does he? Like, to go out and say these stupid things. I mean, I think a lot of the coverage was quite complimentary about Wolves, particularly looking back on it. But then, like his comments are always a little bit, we did this, it's unexplainable. We did this, it's unexplainable. There were some Liverpool fans on Twitter saying that they were the better team and should have won. And that's how deluded they are. That's how deluded they are because they had a good 20 minutes in the second half. And even then, it's like when you're watching the stuff back on the highlights, it's, well, Liverpool had 70% possession in the second half. And like, that's kind of because that's our game plan was working. We let them have the ball and try and break us down. We had a 2-goal lead. It wasn't that, they had 70% possession. They battered them. They should have won 10-0. It was, it's the way the game's played. And That's kind of like a Klopp thing, isn't it?
These are proper plastics, aren't they? This is someone sat in Nairobi with nothing better to do than go on Twitter and pretend to be a Liverpool fan. So they're not football fans.
Bayliss, a lot of them were in the Wolves home end because a lot of Wolves fans did sell their tickets to Liverpool fans. So I don't know how you feel about that.
I did just pick a random place on earth. That was off my head there.
It's a weird one. I don't know how they get away with it. How you'd be sat in the South Bank doing a Liverpool vlog and no one would notice.
Apparently,
season ticket as well.
Apparently, it was his uncle's season ticket, that actual Liverpool vlog. But I saw something pop up on Twitter that I think Wolves are actually going to look into. If they can see that a Liverpool fan was in a certain seat and they can identify whose season ticket it was, I think they are going to punish people. Yeah, I think they should.
If someone's given a season ticket away to a Liverpool fan, particularly if they do have the audacity to do a vlog in the South Bank at the time, find out whose season ticket it is and just cancel it. And that's what they say they'll do in terms and conditions. They say they can do that if you just give it to your mate who's a Wolves fan. So they have all the power there.
It's dangerous as well because if someone would have collared who's a Liverpool fan, especially in the South Bank, he could have got slapped about, couldn't he? He could have. It could have got really messy.
Wish he had, really.
Yeah, it could happen though, couldn't it? Like it is dangerous doing that. Especially if you've had a few sherbets and start shouting. Yeah.
Bayliss, how far does that 3 points go in terms of the wider relegation battle?
We needed it.
We did,
where we'd have been if we'd have lost. Jesus. I think the next 3 games.
Is it still going down to the wire, Bayliss?
The next 3 games are way more important than Saturday. It is. It really is. Like Southampton, Bournemouth, Fulham. That is, 6 points minimum, you got to say.
Fulham are flying. It's the next 2, I think, isn't it? We're playing the bottom 2 teams next.
Fulham, they've got like the least goals against for the GX against, if that makes sense. They're riding their luck. I think the wheels are coming off.
I think purely because we've got Lopetegui. I said, didn't I? As soon as he took over, my mood changed pretty quickly that we were going to stay up, even before we made these 6 signings. I love the bloke. Look, when you looked at like Bruno Lage, when there was a big decision to be made or was going into a big game, I would never be confident he'd make the right call. But with Lopetegui, I'm pretty confident he'll make the right call and make the right subs and pick the right team. He's just oozes class, doesn't he? And he's out. He out-tacticked Klopp. Out-tacticked him.
8th from the restart.
And in that time, we've had to play Liverpool, Man City, and Man United in those games. So that's testament in it, really.
So if we do stay up, which I think we will, next season could be exciting. I don't want to get too carried away, but
book the flights. Book the flights. Armenia, here we come.
Harry, next up, we've mentioned it. Southampton away. I suppose we're back to actually a guessing game podcast feature of what is the team going to be? What do you think the team's going to be? I imagine there will be changes because the game plan will be completely different.
Well, there's one forced change. I think Hwang will be injured for the game, so it's whether you bring in Pedence or Adama. Personally, I'd bring in Pedence. I know it's controversial because Adama did well, but he's good to bring off. And then will he keep Aït-Nouri there? Probably. Will he go with a 4-4-2 or will he change it up and go back to like a 4-3-3? I don't know. I don't know what he'll do because obviously tactically, Lopetegui will be looking at it. I know Southampton are in a bit of a rut. They're bottom of the league. Is it Nathan Jones, their manager? Is that his name?
Yeah, have they sacked him? Because I saw reports that he was going to be sacked, and I don't know if it actually happened or not.
Didn't he do like the most bizarre press conference ever? Like giving it.
He tried to go a bit Brian Clough, didn't he?
Yeah.
How did he?
Find it on YouTube because it's worth a watch. He's like,
David Brent.
I've settled here. I'm one of the best coaches in Europe, sort of thing. I'm paraphrasing totally. It's really weird.
It's difficult to compare yourself to Brian Clough when you haven't won 2 European Cups, isn't it?
He doesn't directly compare himself to Brian Clough. It's just the way he sort of says
the way he's talking. He's trying.
Cloughy.
No, but I hope he does stay because if they sack him, it's always weird, isn't it? When a team loses their manager, like the players like seem to G themselves up, ready for the next one to come in. So I hope he sticks around. I hope we win,
but they would have done that when Hasenhüttl went, and that wasn't that long ago, was it?
I
don't think they really have been in the mood to pick themselves up. Go on.
No, obviously, I mean, we didn't talk about our man of the match, but there's so many. I think Lamina's obviously guaranteed to be in there. Dawson, obviously Neves, but we would do a pick. Sorry, just going back to that, we all think Lamina was man of the match, right? But obviously,
absolutely,
yeah.
Jesus,
because obviously Neves could have had a shout or Dawson.
I would, I think it's close. I think because of his work rate and he was literally, I know Dan said it, well, everyone said it earlier, he was everywhere and he was relentless. He just kept going and going and going. And I think a couple of people made the comparison and comments comparing him to Ndai and what he brought to the Championship side. Saying that, we didn't really ever find a replacement for him, which was, looking back, a bit naive, I think, but working with a small squad and stuff, it didn't work out badly, did it? Let's face it, in those first 2 seasons. So
I do also think so. Yeah. Any other game of the season, there are 5 or 6 players there that had a performance that would have been man of the match worthy. Lamina was just so good and so consistent. You had to give it to him. I think we were stood talking, weren't we, during the game, and he got up the pitch and done something. We went, "Oh, God, that's good work." We turned around and he made a tackle in our box.
Yeah,
he was everywhere, wasn't he? Just broke at the play so much all the time. And I hate to say it, and I know it's still early days, but I wasn't very particularly excited about this signing. But it seems like it was someone that Lopetegui wanted to get in pretty quick, because you think, ex-Southampton didn't go to Southampton, they went to France. It's kind of like,
and Fulham in there as well.
Being a bit naive there. But the early signals are, again, they knew what we were doing. They knew what they were doing more than I knew, which isn't a shock. But it wasn't particularly one that I was excited about, compared to some of the other signings that we even made in January, really.
And Harry, he's going back to Southampton, of course. And didn't you put the video in the group of that old bloke outside St Mary's after a game? He was like actually being brought to tears over how well that he can.
He's just so good. He's just so good. Paul's just said Neto's close to returning now. What was interesting as well against Liverpool, no Costa, no João Gomez, no Totti. We're getting that much of a big squad now. It's like we're struggling to fit people onto the bench. So if Neto comes back, does he come straight in? It's
Neto's performances prior to injury, don't know, to be honest with you. I don't think he was very good this year at all. It was more hype than he was actual end product. So
2 big injuries as well. Will he ever be like he was before his first serious injury? I hope he is.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, fingers crossed. But Joe Gomez, he's going to obviously be in with a shout. I mean, he's obviously a little bit more off the pace because the Brazilian league stops in December, so he's pretty much in pre-season mode. So he's pretty much getting on for 6 weeks off the pace.
He might be on the bench, I reckon. He might just make the bench. It'd be harsh to drop any of the midfielders, wouldn't it? I mean, look how good Moutinho did when he come on as well.
Yeah. Evergreen.
But Diego Costa, not making the bench is interesting. Will he get on over Raul? I don't know. So has selection headache, isn't it?
It's funny, isn't it? Every time Moutinho comes in for a bit of stick, being like, "Oh, he's a bit old. He's done now. His legs have gone." Yeah. He goes and has a game like that.
Yeah, absolutely
right.
No, he's world class.
That's the way we should be using Moutinho now, though, isn't it? It's like the last 20 minutes, particularly when you need a bit of experience in the middle and everyone's getting tired. That was exactly how we should be using him.
Yeah, I agree. It was the 25-man squad was released, and I think they've gone for Chiquinho over Kalajic, haven't they? He's the one that sort of didn't make the grade. So obviously, the nature of the injury means he is going to be out for a long time. There's no point in giving him a squad number per se in the Premier League. But Harry, you mentioned it there. Good things to come potentially. But got to stay in the league to do it. So let's do a score prediction for Southampton.
It's coming in. It's happening. Finally. After all these years, since 2017, I thought it was going to come in against Liverpool. It's going to be Wolves 4, Southampton 1. Get your £5 on it. It's coming in. Law of averages. It's got to. Please.
I thought Saturday was going to do it when it was 2-0 after 12 minutes, wherever it was. Jack?
So, I don't think we can underestimate how big these next 2 games are. We're playing the bottom 2 teams here, and I think if we take 6 points, which I know is unlikely, I can't see either of them catching us, even at this stage now, to be honest with you. So it's a really massive game. It's arguably bigger than the game last week. Actually, it probably is on paper. But I'm confident. You can't not be confident after last week and the way it's improved under Lopetegui. And they are in free fall. They are in free fall. They haven't sacked their manager, even though there was talk of it happening on Monday. If they were going to do it, it would have happened now. So I'm confident. I think we'll go there, and it won't be as convincing as it was against Liverpool, but I'm going to go 2-1 Wolves.
Oh, Jack is confident. Bayliss?
2-0 Wolves.
2-0 Wolves. I'll go 2-1 Wolves. And let's get your latest betting odds and ticket news.
So I've had a bit of time to go through a few bits today. So there's some wacky.
Was it when you're having a sandwich?
Yeah, it wasn't actually. I did it on the way home.
Oh.
I did a little bet builder because I quite enjoy those. Wolves to win, over 2.5 goals. Neves to have 2 or more shots on target. And Wolves to be caught offside 2 or more times.
40-1.
66-1.
Oh, that's good value.
Like that.
There's value. There's always value. Then it gets random. I'm sorry. Kuna to assist Neves and Neves to assist Kuna.
That's a big. That's got to be
so
big.
stupid.
That's got to be big. 150 to 1. Wow.
I love it. I love the
Saying that,
creativity.
Neves is pushing upfield now, so you never know. He's getting into the box.
Yeah.
Method in the madness.
2-1 Wolves. Pedent's first goal, 45-1.
Mega Rapino, lovely.
Like that.
2-0 Wolves. Sarabia first goal, 60-1.
Mm.
Nice.
And I will leave you with Harry Mansell. And I did do this earlier. I haven't just done it.
Yeah.
Wolves to
How
win,
excited.
4-1. Kuna to get the first goal,
80-1.
375.
Is it?
Wow. It was 80-1 for us just to beat Liverpool 4-1 the weekend. So
Wolves are better than even money.
yeah.
Going away, Southampton.
Talking of, did we? I don't know if we brought this up. They've rearranged that fixture, haven't they? Just get.
I have, yeah. 3 weeks today, is it? I think.
The 1st of March away. It feels like we've played Liverpool about
Anfield.
55 times this season.
I think we have, yeah. Jack, has ticket news?
Yes, I do. We'll start with the away games. So Southampton away this Saturday is a sellout, 3,200 there. So a big away following, which is good. The away game at Fulham, which is a Friday night kickoff, I assume that's going to be on Sky Sports. That is currently on sale on the points. Quite a small allocation for that one, actually. It's going to be quite tight, only 2,300 available there. The ballot is open at the moment for the Newcastle away game, which always gets moved, and it's got moved again. It's now a Sunday 4:00 in it, and which is not the best for the travelling fans. Onto the home games. One moment, please. I don't actually know. We've got Bournemouth next, haven't we? They are now on general sale, one per supporter number. And the Tottenham ones, the next game after that is at home to Tottenham on the 4th of March, and they are on sale to members as of tomorrow, which is Thursday, the 9th of February. That's it.
Perfect. Lovely. Right. Well, I guess we'll leave that for a...
No.
Oh, no. What? Sorry, go on. Oh, the Man City situation. This is around financial fair play, and this is dating back to like 2011, is it? Or
Yeah,
it's quite far back. Pep says he will walk if City have lied to him, which I find astounding that he wouldn't know what's going on at the club. So what happens next, Harry? Do you strip them of titles? Is it just European? Is it what happens?
Well, the rumor, I think they're defending themselves, aren't they, City? And I think they're confident they're going to get away with it. But it'd be so interesting to see what happens, because there's talk of Slippy G getting a medal from 2014. I saw Lucas, didn't he, put on Twitter saying, "Am I a Premier League winner now?" and things like that. It's insane, because imagine if they get took out the league or get points deducted. I think it'll go on for a while. I don't think it'll be resolved this season, but they've always been cheeky with their spending, haven't they? Let's be honest. So it doesn't surprise me this has come up. But for the way the Premier League just released that statement, I mean, I'll be honest, I didn't read it all because I'm not very clever, so I didn't really understand half of it. But I'm told it's pretty serious. So they're going to defend themselves. I saw today that the lawyer they've appointed is going to earn up to £80,000 a day defending them. So nice for him. But wouldn't it be good if they got took out the league and got all their titles stripped from the last 10 years? I'd love it.
It's not happening, though.
It won't happen.
No.
What it should be is a show of force that now we've got the likes in Newcastle and potentially Man U getting a new Qatari owner. It needs to really be a show of force to say, you can't do it. It's got to be a reasonably fair, even though the ones with the most money do better. It's got to be reasonably fair. You can't just go and buy the league. So it should be a really strict punishment if they have done anything wrong. What it will be is about a 5-point deduction in a league that they probably aren't going to win, and maybe a £5 million fine, which is basically like saying, you've got loads of money, so we're going to have some of it.
Yeah.
And that's it.
All about money.
What do you think should happen, Jack?
I don't know. I can't see anything happening that's that severe, but it's kind of an unprecedented situation. There's been little slaps on the wrist before, haven't there? And like Dan says, the hilarious thing of, "Oh, you spent too much money. Here's a fine." But I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out, but I can't see them going back and changing stuff and how they punish them. I just don't know, really. I can't see it happening because they also want to protect their brand at the same time. And Man City have become, probably the best team in the world in the last 5 years or so. Well, not a bit longer than that, but they really have been up there. So I don't know. I can't see anything much happening, but at the same time, like what Dan said, they do need to do something about it, and they need to make a show of somebody, or else it'll just keep happening. But
you know what's going to happen, don't you? Pep's going to walk for being lied to, and he's going to become Liverpool manager, and Klopp leaves.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, I think we were talking about it tonight. The only person that could ever replace Klopp, I think, would be Pep.
Did you see that? Should they get the worst punishment and they're kicked out of the Premier League, the EFL are not obliged to take them. There's no legal requirement. If the Premier League kick them out for breaking their rules, the EFL are not obliged to put them straight in the Championship.
Well,
is this all part of the great plan to put Super League together?
Yeah. That's probably what would happen, wouldn't it?
It's funny though, isn't it? Because if you're a club like Portsmouth and you do something wrong and you go into administration, your points are gone straight away. No questions asked. That's it. That's not how you run a football club. When it's Man City and you got a checkbook, that's fine.
I saw a great point actually, just on City. Obviously, when we grew up, our era growing up through school, obviously the glory hunters were Man United fans, weren't they? Because they were under Fergie, winning everything. Obviously, Man United worldwide probably are the biggest club in the world, supported wide. But Man City, obviously, the last decade have been amazing, won a lot. They haven't really got the worldwide recognition of obviously a Man United, have they? It hasn't really caught on the same, I don't think so. Because that was one of the arguments. Their worldwide revenue. Apparently, they reckon they've been lying about it, saying how much they actually earn worldwide. Because, I mean, on Champions League nights, sometimes the Etihad's, I know they were protesting a bit, but the Etihad's like half empty, isn't it?
It would just be a lie, isn't it? That like in wherever it is in the Middle East, they make billions a year in revenue. Actually, there's just like every single camel's got a home and away shirt.
I prefer Neighbours.
Oh dear,
that's a good one. I like that. I'll laugh, Sam. I'll laugh.
He's gutted about that. Stole his thunder from his own joke. He's fucking fuming.
It was very good.
Oh, right. We'll see what happens with that. Like I say, it's probably going to rumble on for a long time and nothing's going to happen. But it's good if you're that lawyer on 80 grand a day. That's almost as much as Bayliss. we will say goodbye for another week. Best of luck and enjoy your day if you're going to St Mary's at the weekend. But we'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Yeah, see you everyone.
Dan Bayliss.
See you next week.
And Jack Williams.
Bye everybody.
And it is a goodbye from me. Goodbye.